Welcome to episode 245 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. He's Tom Albano. I'm Nick Morgasen. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at ETB Network. Follow the YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Approaching 840 subscribers on our march to 1,000. Please help us by liking and subscribing. If you want to listen to us, you don't want to watch the video, listen to wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Odyssey, YouTube Premium, wherever you want to listen, you don't want to watch, go and listen. A lot that we are doing over this network, so please like and subscribe. A lot to get into, a lot of headlines. I was telling Tom beforehand, this is one of the shows that I like because there's a ton of headlines. I don't know. We could start all the way from baseball to Noah Lyles making headlines because he thinks that the NBA is not a world championship. USA winning the gold for basketball, men's and women's. We even have NFL news, and it's not even NFL season yet.
Well, I mean, one NFL season, I think, is already over before the season even begins. So,
right. And also, we have to get into the person I hate most, but we'll save that for later. So a lot to get into, but before we do that, Empty the Bench and the Empty the Bench Podcast Network presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. Now, we've been very busy. We just finished the Olympics. We saw the USA men's team beat France, the host country, for the gold medal. That was a fun experience. We got to watch it on NBC and USA channel, and that was a fun experience. And for the day that we're recording this, I just found out we just got flooded with WNBA games now on our schedule. So we now have those, and I think strategically they did this right. Indiana Fever games and Chicago Sky games. A ton of them. Playback is thinking with their brain. Mm-hmm. So we are definitely going to do some WNBA games. That is on the docket. We've been doing WWE streams. Tony and Dan have done amazing for the first, was it 3 now? 2 or 3 now? With Playback and Raw. Playback. Raw and SmackDown. 2. Okay. So they've done really well, and we're going to do more of those. I know, I'm not thinking partially right now. We are probably going to add AEW to that mix also. So we are going to have WWE, AEW, WNBA. We're talking about some baseball coming. So just make sure you like and subscribe and join our community, playback.tv/ETB Network for more. Okay. So we're leading with baseball. Yes, I'm going to say that one more time. We are leading with baseball in the most unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah. It's a very rare thing at this point, it seems, that we actually end up leading with baseball on the show. As you said, unfortunately, some bad circumstances here. Jarren Duran, the star of the Red Sox, well, one of the stars of the Red Sox, made it to the All-Star game, having a great season, won the All-Star game MVP for his offensive performance during that game. Unfortunately, was suspended for 2 games using an anti-gay slur towards a heckling fan. This was, I think, late last week or so, or start of this week, where Jarren Duran was at the plate. Like I said, Houston was blowing him out 10-0. A fan starts heckling, give him a tennis racket, because Jarren Duran had been on a little bit of a cold spell. And, well, the whole Boston team at that point in that game was on a bit of a cold spell. And Jarren Duran basically said effing and
let's just say the bad F word that you don't say to an LGBTQ member.
He said both bad F words. He said the expletive, and then he said the anti-gay slur.
The weird thing is, I don't think people have a problem with the curse word. It's the other word that you don't say.
Well, if you look on MLB Twitter, it seems like not a lot of people even have a problem with the other one,
Well,
unfortunately.
that's a whole other issue of uneducation when it comes to understanding what that word actually means. But unfortunately, you were starting to say the Red Sox are playing terribly. They got swept by the Astros in Fenway, and basically they were not playing well. And this unfortunate incident happens, and it's just an all around bad situation, just in every way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely terrible. It's terrible because, and I know a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people seem to be against the suspension. Jarren Duran did come out, release a statement. We'll talk about his response in a little bit. Um, but look, he was caught, and I should say, the reason all of it's going on is because this was caught on the mics over on NESN, the official
Oh,
home of the
Nesson. Yeah.
Lesson. Yeah. Um, look, with the way the microphones are, first of all, you've seen what the microphones are like now. That basically, when chirping happens from a dugout, we hear it. We sometimes are able to hear the umpires and what they say. I mean, all you need to do is watch John Boy's lip reading video, and he basically breaks down when any sort of instance, controversy or not, happens on the field. And part of
He's
that is
great. He's great at doing those videos, by the way, because I don't know how he does it, but he gets it right like 99.9% of the time. He gets it right, whatever they're lip reading or whatever. What I will
so.
tell
My
you
point
is,
was
oh, good.
no, my point is that basically with the great quality of microphones these days and the broadcast technology, plus everything with social media, you're not going to get away with doing something like this. You're not going to get away with saying something like this. So, bad choice. Maybe it was a bad choice of words. Like I get maybe Jarren Duran was frustrated, but the other thing, and this one is probably going to be a little bit of an uncontroversial, I mean, a little bit of a controversial opinion because, everyone was against the suspension, think Jarren Duran should have been suspended. Here's the prop. First, actually, you know what? No, it's two things. It's two, like, because I think I told you in a pre show meeting, there's two different flags to it. One, and maybe this is because I have a Yankee bias to me, Josh Donaldson just a season ago got in trouble for making certain remarks against, I think it was Tim Anderson of the White Sox.
Well, that was the whole Jackie comment. But
Right.
the
But
one
my
thing,
point-
but I just want to point out one thing with the Josh Donaldson situation. Josh Donaldson was known for having a bad reputation, rubbing people the wrong way.
Understood. But if you do it in one case, you have to do it in another. Look what happened. Look at the NFL, Nick. That we talk about the inconsistency of punishments. We crap on Rob Manfred and MLB a lot, but one thing that they were going to want to do is get something like this right. So if it happens to one player, it's got to be consistent the whole way through. But that leads to the other part of this. This was a response to a fan. You are going to let a fan get under your skin? You're a Major League Baseball player. People are paying to see you. You are making. Jarren Duran's still young, so he's not making all the money in the world
He's an
right now.
ARB player right now.
He's an arbitration player right now, so I don't know if I can use the "you're making all the money in the world right now" argument, but you're making a lot more money than other people
The average
who aren't
person.
right than the average person, and you're gonna let a fans not even an insult, a personal derogatory style insult at you, a tennis racket comment, really? That's what's gonna cause you to say something like this?
Now,
How stupid can you be?
Now, I said it to you in a pre-show meeting. I'm not making any excuse because what he did was 100% wrong. I have members in my family who are LGBTQ, so I understand how that comment is 100,000% offensive in every way, shape, or form. He is 27 years old. He's a little bit younger than you and I. Not that I'm unfortunately the younger generation is a little more ballsy when it comes to making statements. And if you remember correctly, what I told you in our pre-show meeting, did you see the shirt that he wore the next day after the whole incident happened? He wore an "F-um." It's the nicest way I can really say it. Shirt.
Really, he's not sorry.
And the other thing that drove me nuts was, so he's in the clubhouse being interviewed, or it's a scrum. So there's a bunch of reporters, and they kept asking him, well, what are your thoughts? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, I don't want to talk about it. Well, you were ballsy enough to make the comment. Why won't you talk when the shit hits the fan?
And to wear that shirt when you had to release the statement that you did, I mean, read the room. That's a really bad case of read the room. If you really don't mean, that you're sorry, at least give off that you are sorry and that you're doing everything to make things right.
If he's not sorry, though, then he should have been suspended longer. That's just how I would have handled it. Like, if I'm the Red Sox and I'm Craig Breslow, the current GM of the Red Sox, and I see him walking around with a shirt, my first inkling is to say, go home. You're not playing today.
Which also leads to another thing that we talked about before recording the show, that because if you keep in mind something, this was not an MLB suspension. This was the Red Sox suspending. Well, at least what I was going to say. I guarantee you, given what you just said before, this was Rob Manfred in the league saying, we are going to suspend him like 5 games, 7 games, whatever, unless you do it. Like, are you going to get us involved, or are you going to do something about it?
You know how corny that is, right? Like, oh, well, if you handle it, we'll make it less. But if we have to get involved, if the parents have to get involved in the situation, then we're going to make it worse.
But the thing is, it probably would have been shortened down to 2 or 3 games anyway, because you would have had the players' union crying.
You said something I said the other night, which was like the football scenario where they take Deshaun Watson's suspension.
Right.
Where they way overdid it just to get it down to eventually what the NFLPA was going to negotiate, or the A-Rod suspension.
So I know what you said. I know what you're saying about it being corny, but I think this is why they did it. So that way the players' union can't step in here.
Right, but I would think the players' union represents any suspension or issue that they face, I would think.
Maybe, but if the league did it, the players' union, given their toxic relationship with the league, would have automatically fought it.
That I agree with. That if because the MLBPA does not accept any punishment that Major League Baseball gives, especially when Rob Manfred is involved, because he overreacts to every situation there is. But when I read the statements, well, Major League Baseball, in conjunction with the Boston Red Sox, have suspended Jarren Duran for 2 games. In conjunction? What? If Major League Baseball wanted to suspend him, just suspend him. Like, what else is there to it? Right?
I guess. But again, anything to get the union out of it. Now,
I mean, as I was reading also, just to point out, so the Red Sox also announced that Duran's salary for the 2 games, by the way, it's actually less than I thought. So the suspension, the money will be donated to PFLAG, which is formerly called Parents, Families, and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. Duran earns $760,000. So, by the way, does he realize he hasn't hit the payday yet to be doing something stupid like this? I mean, and number 2, according to them, he's only going to lose $8,172. Not even. Not even. I wouldn't even call that a slap on the wrist. I would call that, unfortunately, getting away with it.
Oh.
I mean, you're losing under $10,000. That's it?
Well, the Red Sox, I guess, had to be without one of their best players for 2 games, which, by the way, also brings me to the other side of this, which is, this wasn't even at Minute Maid. This wasn't even at the Houston Texans Stadium. This was at Fenway.
Your home park.
This was the what we can assume at this point was a Red Sox fan heckling a Red Sox player. Really? You're going to heckle one of the only players that is the reason that you are still in the wild card race. One of your only bright spots. Like, I get it. He was on a bad slump, and, I believed in Aaron Judge, but I know people were pretty much crapping on him in April when he was having that cold
I
April.
remember
get it.
that.
But my point being, like, look at what Jarren Duran did for you all freaking year. And this goes back to something Ben said on Hitting for the Cycle last month about why were the fans not really getting behind Jarren Duran in terms of the fan voting process for the All-Star game. They was saying, well, it's because people don't want, some Red Sox fans don't want to support the team because of the fan nation's feud with John Henry, and basically thinking that John Henry is not owning the team, not doing a proper job as an owner.
That's silly. Number one, I know what he's talking about because John Henry also owns the soccer team or whatever that
Right.
he cares more about.
Basically, this is all bad tension stemming from the Mookie Betts trade 4.5 years ago.
I mean, can we get over it already? It's 4.5 years, for crying out loud. Like, even Ben, who's a diehard Red Sox fan, has pretty much moved on from that trade. Like, they didn't want to pay him, so they had to trade him. That was it. There's one or two things that happens in professional sports. Either you pay a guy or you got to get value back in return.
Yeah. So like I said, Jarren Duran, Rafael Devers, the only reasons why this Red Sox team is in the position that it's in right now, fighting for a wild card spot, and you as the Red Sox nation are pretty much getting on him. Like, I get it. The team was down 10-0, and it was a miserable series against the Astros. But
don't take it out on your players.
Don't take it out on a star like Jarren Duran just because he's having a freaking bad game. Like, come on.
Well, first of all, blame the whole team for getting swept at home. Number one. I mean, and I'm reading all the quotes, and you're getting the standard answers from Duran in the clubhouse, and I'm just like, am I supposed to believe what you're saying? He's like, I'm sorry for my actions. I'm going to work on being better.
Meanwhile,
blah, blah.
Meanwhile, wearing a shirt that says F him.
No, but I'm saying that's such a what they call PR response.
Well, what do you think was going to happen, Nick? That's always what happens.
But that's not sincere, is my point. Like, it's the typical I should have known, I'll be better, blah blah blah, whatever. And I'm just like, are you going to get better, or are you going to do it again?
Okay. Speaking of the union, Nick, because we talk about the union when it came to the Jarren Duran story, but let's talk about the union in regards to a little bit of a funny story that we have here. So Major League Baseball, the Players Association, suing the Pirates and Sheetz, the detergent company. I don't know why I said thing.
Yeah. So MLBPA suing the Pirates and Sheetz, the laundry brand company. The issues are concerning the marketing campaign, which puts Sheetz on the side of the jersey for the Pittsburgh Pirates. The MLBPA says the Pirates or any other MLB team is not allowed to use 3 or more players in a marketing campaign without a licensing agreement. On top of that, the MLBPA wants the Pirates to halt the use of the sheets on the sleeve of the jersey and pay monetary damages to the players. WTAE said they reached out to the Pirates but hadn't heard back, and to Sheetz, who is currently reviewing litigation, would not comment on the situation. So the Pirates unveiled these new patches June 21st. They were one of the first to do it. It's on all their jerseys. This is a very bizarre story, considering Rob Manfred seems to get himself in a pickle with all these things.
Aren't jersey patches just so fun, Nick?
No, just like you said about the Yankee patch.
Well, that we talked about before the recording about the Yankee patch. How basically, I think it was last season, the Yankees introduced a sponsor on the side of their sleeves, and people like flipped out and said, oh, you're ruining the pinstripes. Which the MLB owners, whether it be Yankees, Pirates, everybody, they're going to have one answer in response to all the crying.
Yeah,
that's why they have the jersey patches. That's why they took that from soccer.
I agree. And like NHL is now doing it. WNBA is now doing it. NBA is now doing it. I'm kind of surprised actually that professional sports hasn't done sponsors on jerseys a lot sooner. than they are realizing that you can see it on TV. If you remember the class we took at Hofstra, we learned all about placement of sponsors, like including tennis matches. That was the most strategic one. Remember, like they put the Chase logo on the net for the longest time. So it's all about strategic placement. They can make a lot of money. So it says 23 of the 30 MLB teams have sponsorship patches on their jerseys. I'm kind of surprised how big that number is, by the way.
And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few years that's going to turn to a 30.
I agree with you totally. The only teams not to include it are the Rockies, Nationals, Twins, White Sox, Mariners, A's, and Rays.
Are you surprised by the A's?
Well, when you see "fuck John Fisher" going around in your crowd, no,
it'll happen. Like for the A's, I guess I would be surprised in that John Fisher is going to want all the money. But right now, would anybody want to sponsor the A's? Would anybody want to sponsor the White Sox?
But I wouldn't even drink the water inside of the Coliseum. Just saying, with the reports that I heard, I wouldn't.
Well, they don't have to worry about the Coliseum soon. They just have to worry about wherever they're going to play baseball.
Sacramento, apparently, in a AAA stadium. Or what is it called? O.co Coliseum or whatever they're calling it, which is a terrible name, by the way.
I think that has something to do with a sponsor too, or whatever.
Yeah, but this is unbelievable. Like baseball can't escape the oddity that goes on. Seriously,
no, they can't. It's just par for the course. But I mean, this is funny. Something will get settled soon. It's just I'm laughing. The reason that they're suing it's because it's more than 3 players. It breaks the rule.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. So Major League Baseball or the MLBPA is going to get involved and say dumb shit because they don't want more than 3 players without a licensing agreement. That reminds me, by the way, of do you remember the whole trading cards situation with the licensing issues that they had?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was Upper Deck and Tops. Because if you remember, Upper Deck and Tops are a monopoly almost if you think about it. Because no one else can make Major League Baseball cards. And there's one brand, I can't remember which one it is. It's so dopey. But they make baseball cards, but they're not allowed to have the jerseys in the pictures of the cards. So it's just the players with no jersey. Just the players.
Seems so...
Because they don't have the license.
Yeah.
So...
Well, Nick, you know what? When the next MLBPA lockout happens, we're gonna not be shocked when it's actually, it actually affects the regular season this time around. And by the way, I don't want to mess up anything on my computer, so I just took a picture of it with my phone quickly. This makes me bring back this old gem.
Oh, that's great.
We just can't have Vince McMahon running it right now because Vince McMahon is should no longer be in the public picture.
Well, speaking of B, XLB, 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 XLB.
Okay, enough.
Well, speaking of oddities going on in the world of professional sports and the Olympics, which just ended, Noah Lyles wins bronze in the 200-meter dash, but you're not misreading that if you're watching on the video side. Tested positive for COVID.
Yeah. He won the race while he was sick. He won the race with COVID in himself.
Let me clarify one thing. He finished in bronze. That's the one where he had COVID.
He won a medal. He won a medal, I should say.
So he won a gold earlier on before he had COVID. I forgot. I think that was in the relay with the 4 other, with the team one. He won a gold.
I think he won gold in 100 too.
Yeah, I think you might be right. And then he won a bronze in the 200. And then it was revealed afterwards while we were doing the playback stream, by the way, watching the gold, actually, that the reason he lost is because he was out of breath and out of energy because he was dealing with COVID. Now, here's what I don't understand. If he had COVID Why was he given the choice to race?
That was going to be my point to you. Like, I know you and certain other people maybe want to shame him for this, but really the person you need to shame for a situation like this, if you're going to be upset, because first of all, I think all those protocols and stuff are kind of done because
COVID's a cold now.
right, COVID's a cold now. We're not in pandemic mode anymore. But secondly, imagine, Nick, you're in Noah Lyles' situation. You're an Olympian, and you have worked your butt off for the last 4 years at minimum, if not your whole basically life.
Since he's been a child.
Right, to get to this kind of moment. If you give him a choice, do you really think somebody like Noah Lyles is going to say no? Do you really think an athlete who has worked his ass off to get to this kind of stage is really going to say, "Oh, I'm sick. I'm not going to do it."
Well, this goes back to my point that I said to you in a pre-show meeting. When you give an athlete a choice, what do you think they're going to do most of the time?
They're going to play. Hell, we celebrate one of the greatest performances of somebody who was sick in the NBA in the flu game from Michael Jordan.
I mean, it's the most famous sick game of all time. I mean, the man had like 103.5 or 104 fever, and they literally had to pump him with fluids before the game to get him to play, which, by the way, would not happen in today's NBA because we're completely soft, but I digress from the point. It's bad. It shouldn't happen. Now, because COVID is still contagious, isn't it?
I think so.
So I don't know. Like, I don't understand the way this situation is being handled. It's a weird situation of should the IOC, I don't know if it is the IOC that makes the decision on this, but you've said many things about the IOC.
Yeah, the IOC just does not really, the IOC is not really a trustworthy organization. The IOC is an organization that really brings out some of the worst in sports. For all the good that the Olympics does, you mentioned the book we read before, the class we took before. We learned there that there's some bad, maybe a lot more than some bad that goes with it.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at the Olympics, there's a lot of shadiness that goes on behind the scenes when it comes to the Olympics and the way that stuff is being handled. I don't know. Like, I like Noah Lyles as an athlete. I like who he is. He has the claim of being the fastest runner in the world. I get it, but like, I don't like the way that he could be a real asshole either. Like, I don't know. Unless if you have a different opinion than me, let me know.
I mean, I don't really know Noah Lyles too much. I don't really follow the track scene all too much that I can really give my opinion on Noah Lyles as a person. But having you said that, let's flip to the other thing that we have about Noah Lyles involving himself, involving Nike. I mean, pardon me, not Nike, Adidas, and involving Anthony Edwards. So Noah Lyles, I guess, has taken exception to basically the NBA referring to its NBA Finals winner as the world champion. I mean, this is something, Nick, that's a common argument when it comes to American sports. Like, MLB calls its championship the World Series. NFL calls it the NFL calls it the Super Bowl. But anytime in one of the big four here in America that we call them the world champions, even though most of the teams, if not all of the teams, are exclusively in the United States, minus, like I said, maybe a couple of teams, or in the case of the NHL, a few teams that are in Canada.
Right.
But I guess that's because, when you think about sports, the biggest leagues always are going to be found here in America, which is why I guess they're called the world champions, because it's the top of the top.
It's the pinnacle. I mean, but the one thing I will say, just to clarify, so that was the original comment, what you're talking about, where he got mad that NBA players are calling the championship, a world title. Now there's another situation going around, and that's why Adidas is involved.
Right.
So apparently Anthony Edwards got a golden shoe or whatever from Adidas for winning the gold medal or whatever.
You say golden shoe, and all I'm thinking is like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
The golden ticket. Yeah.
Because I got a golden ticket. But instead it's, because I got a golden shoe.
Right. So the athletic apparel brand revealed a gold medal-inspired edition of Edwards' signature shoe, the AE1, at a party he hosted at the Westfield Forum des Halles in Paris. The shoe has many of the same features as the base version of the AE1, but with a main color of gold, white sole, and black on the heel. Edwards is currently the face of the Adidas basketball brand, and the company released its first signature shoe in December. Let me just see if there's any other. And then there was a lot of weird controversy that went down because, like, Anthony Edwards is all over town, like flocking the shoe and like wearing the medal and all that stuff. And then Noah Lyles, who's also an Adidas athlete, was absent from the Anthony Edwards shoe event. And a lot of people were claiming that because he was mad at Anthony Edwards for whatever, he didn't show up. And he put a tweet out to clarify what was going on. So he wrote, "There's a rumor going around that I did not go to Anthony Edwards' shoe release because he didn't deserve it. That is not the case. He definitely deserves his shoes. He's an amazing player. The problem was finding time based on my prior engagements." Now, read into that what you will. I don't know. It's weird timing, if you ask me.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
Come on, that's what you wanted to say.
Oh my God. Stop you fucking lying.
I know you. That's what you wanted to say.
I mean, the timing is just so perfect, if you ask me. Like, I don't believe what Noah Lyles is saying just because he's a very outspoken human being who thinks he's better than everybody. Now, from a track perspective, I think he is better than everybody. He is one of those guys. But don't go after guys for winning an NBA championship. What are you doing?
The whole world championship controversy is just silly. And something like this, I mean, it's all just a bunch of silliness.
And Noah, I'm going to say this to you right now as I look at this screen. Okay? You're only relevant every 4 years.
Oh.
You're every 4 years. Or excuse me, let me take that back. Technically, because the Olympic is every 2 years. Every 2 years. But I'm going to say in the purpose just because of all the training, every 4 years. You're relevant every 4 years. You are the best runner. I'm not debating that by any means. You're probably the best U.S. athlete, one of the best U.S. athletes we have. But stop. Let your game do the talking. Don't outspeak everybody in the room. It makes you look like an asshole. It does. And you running with COVID looks awful too. Sit the damn race out.
But
I get it. What?
But Nick, he's not going. What did I tell you before? If you give an athlete a choice like that, they're almost always going to say, "I want to go through with it." You got to put the blame on the IOC for that one.
That's like asking a billionaire if he wants more money.
Exactly.
I mean, I know that's it's corny, but it makes my point. Like, if you're going to ask a billionaire if they want more money, well, yeah, I'll take it. Give me more. Give me more. I mean, Anthony Edwards didn't have as much importance to the gold medal. I agree on that front. But everyone played a role except for Jason Tatum. But
even Joel Embiid eventually managed to find a role. Oh, speaking of, how about we just transition over right there? What a perfect timing. What a perfect transition. Going from Noah Lyles versus Anthony Edwards to Team USA, men's and women's basketball, both earning gold medals in fairly dominant fashion. The women were absolutely dominant. The men had a couple of scares.
Well, except for the gold medal game, which the women only won by 1 point. Yeah. And it was a Kevin Durant Nets situation, if you know what I'm talking about, where if Kevin Durant's foot was behind the line, the Nets would have pretty much gone to the finals. Who were they playing? Was it Nigeria or who were they playing in the final?
Let me look that information up.
Okay, well, you're looking that up. What I do remember, though, is the player that was shooting the shot was trying to pull up, and they didn't pull up fast enough, and their foot was on the line as they shot the shot, so it was a 2-pointer. So instead of tying the game and going to overtime, they lost by 1. So...
I think it was France. Yeah, they beat France, too.
Oh, right. You're right. Okay. So I think U.S. versus... It was an all U.S. versus France final, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
But that was a dramatic finish. I think they said it was like 64 games in a row, if I'm not mistaken, over the last 8 Olympics or something. They've 8 consecutive gold medals. You know how we were talking about on the Playback stream, like, are they going to do a documentary on this men's team? Why isn't the women getting their own 8 consecutive gold medals?
Yep.
Really? I'd rather watch that.
Yeah, no, it's probably one of the. I shouldn't even say one of. It's probably the biggest form of dominance when it comes to the Summer Olympics. It just seems like year after year, the USA women's basketball team just continues to show that they are just head and shoulders above everybody else. I mean, just in general, USA basketball shows, with some rare exceptions on the men's side, that they are head and shoulders above everybody else. Like it's not even a contest. Well, the men, like I said, had a few more scares. Like, at least with the women, it was the gold medal game. That should always be a highly competitive affair. The men nearly lost to South Sudan in the exhibition, whatever you want to call it, stage.
And they played close in the group phase game.
The group phase, they got off to slow starts in the group phase games. I think they were behind the game with Puerto Rico that you and Ben did. Now, granted, that game never mattered because they were going to go on to the next round.
They were 2-0, so it was automatic.
They were 2-0. Puerto Rico's 0-2. Their fates were set, both of those countries, so it didn't matter. But then, look how they played against Serbia. If it wasn't for a fourth quarter, comeback of the ages led by Steph Curry in the dominating game that he had, they would have been eliminated, and then they probably would have just maybe won a bronze, which, by the way, Steph Curry, my God. Like, you talk about legacy, and I think we talked about it in the 2022 championship that they won, because we were like, oh, well, Steph, his legacy somehow he grew even more because he finally won a finals MVP. Now here he is having the performances of performances in the time in the Olympics in which it really mattered when it came to the final 2 games of the year. Final 2 games of the Olympics. So even in the Olympics, even outside of the NBA, his legacy in this sport continues to grow. And just put him in the Hall of Fame already. He is one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter that we have seen of this generation. He is one of the most clutch players of this generation. He is fantastic. And even though we talked about on last week's show about, is he going to request a trade out or anything, the situation with the Warriors and the direction that they're going, even at 34, 35 years old, Steph Curry just continues to be quite possibly the best player in the NBA.
36.
36. Okay, even better.
So when I look at the run for the men's side, I look at Steph Curry, especially for the final 2 games, combined 60 points in the final 2 games. I do have a bone to pick with USA basketball a little bit, because who did they name the USA basketball MVP? LeBron James.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Steph Curry saved your asses in the final 2 games.
I'm guessing because I'm guessing because it's an overall Olympic MVP. So I guess if you're going to go that direction, LeBron was the better player in the group stages. LeBron was the better player in their quarterfinal game. But like you said, Steph Curry really was the savior of this team.
I mean, in the last 2 games alone, Steph Curry had 14 points, I think, in the first quarter of the first game of those two. Manages to single-handedly turn around the game against Serbia. I mean, then they go into play France. That game wasn't as close, but we knew. What did I tell you? France was going to be a much better matchup for the men than Serbia. Serbia also played the U.S. once, so they were able to strategize for a second game around. And what did they do? They forced the U.S. to play defense, which the U.S. was falling under each screen each time, and it almost cost them in the game. But long story short, both win. I will say the one thing that I'm still kind of frustrated with is that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese were not on Team USA with the women's. I think that'll change next time around in 4 years, for sure. I think they will be on Team USA, and I think that's even going to make them more dominant. And what was it? Diana Taurasi, by the way, winning her 6th medal. I think she's like 42 or 43 years old now, or something. Like, that's an incredible feat in itself. But yeah, so officially we put a bow on the Olympics. We're not going to get to this story, but I'll just say that the Olympics now officially moves back to Los Angeles in 2028. And we saw the handoff. I don't know if you saw, did you see, oh God, what was the name of the actor that was scaling the building? Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise was scaling a building. Did you see that?
No, I didn't watch the closing ceremony.
I didn't watch the full thing, but I saw as part of the handoff, they had Tom Cruise, who does his own stunts, like scaling the side of a building as they were moving the torch or whatever, as they were handing it over. It was fascinating, by the way. But one last thing I'll say. Did you see Snoop Dogg throughout the whole Olympics?
Yeah.
And now they're saying that he might have a role in like sports going on with NBC. By the way, nice.
Wouldn't surprise me. Have you ever listened to him doing commentary for sports? I've listened to him do commentary for fights. It's wild. It's fucking hilarious.
He did a Brewers game like a couple weeks ago or something. Like, that was hilarious. I mean, he's an entertainer in every way, shape, or form, and I dig it for sure.
All right. But you know what you're gonna dig? You're gonna dig that the NBA schedule is slowly starting to come out.
Yes! Finally!
So we have information now. We know the Christmas games. We know the NBA Cup schedule, the preliminary play with pool play, I guess, rather is the better term for it. And we know NBA opening night. And the very first game of the season, obviously, is going to involve the Boston Celtics so that they can raise the banner and they can all receive their rings. And their opponent, the New York Knicks.
Big surprise.
We have New York versus Boston right away. A potential, Nick, right away. In the very first game of the season, we have a potential Eastern Conference final preview.
Yeah, no, I like the opening night. Like we said, Knicks at Celtics ring night. I think that was no accident by the NBA, by the way, because I think they want the Knicks to kick their asses into high gear and really compete.
Like I said, there's a chance that this could be a preview of the Eastern Conference final this year. They're giving fans a treat right off the bat.
I don't know if I like the Timberwolves Lakers one as much. I think just because they wanted LeBron on opening night. That's just
fine. Yeah,
probably. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Karl-Anthony Towns. I like Anthony Edwards.
Well, I was going to say, I think to capitalize on the success that the Timberwolves had. I mean, the Timberwolves and Mavericks. We talked about it when we were doing the playoffs on Playback. The absolute surprise that it was those two playing in the Western Conference Finals. So all of that. Plus, hold on. You were naming players. You forgot one.
Can't forget Naz Reid. That's right. I like the Timberwolves. I think they're going to go on a long run for the next 5 to 7 years, and really,
I hope they get back to the conference final this
year. Will
year.
They win a title though? That's a whole different scenario. Getting over the hump and really winning. The Lakers, I could take it or leave it. Even though Anthony Davis actually played really well in the Olympics, I do wonder, though, if him playing in the Olympics and not taking a break is going to come back to bite him when the NBA season comes back. But you know what? I like the opening matchups. I saw some of the Christmas matchups. What did you make of the Christmas matchups?
I like them. I saw a lot of people basically saw Warriors Lakers and got turned off by it. I'm like, look, I get that neither team is really at the stage that it was a few years ago, but it's still Steph Curry and LeBron James. And if you don't think that the NBA isn't going to pull the trigger and do that game on Christmas Day, I'm sorry, you're mistaken.
Can I tell you right now, like when I look at these matchups, Spurs, Knicks, obviously New York market.
Timberwolves, Mavericks. I just mentioned the two of them, like Western Conference Final rematch. That's a hell of a game. 76ers, Celtics. Look, I'm a little worried. The way Joel Embiid played in some of those Olympic games, I'm worried.
I mean, he started to play better midway through the Olympics. It'll be interesting to see Paul George and how he fits there. Maybe Celtics Sixers becomes a rivalry again. I don't know.
And then I assume
Lakers Warriors. Yeah.
I assume Nuggets Suns is probably going to be the late 10:30 game, which I think that's a decent cap off.
Nuggets Suns has kind of been on the Christmas window like the past 4 to 5 years. Like that's been there. The Knicks have always been on Christmas. That's always a staple. The Celtics are always on. Usually over the years we've had Knicks Celtics on Christmas usually. Yeah. So I guess but that'll be interesting. The Knicks versus Victor Wembanyama on Christmas. So we'll see what happens there. But I like what they've done so far. Not a fan of the cup. I wish they get rid of it. The NBA Cup, or they're calling it the Emirates Cup now because they think they're soccer. But I like all the other matchups. I'm a fan for a change.
Moving on now to some football news. So this is unfortunate. J.J. McCarthy out for the entire 2024 season. Obviously, the Vikings picking him with the 10th pick in this past NFL draft. And I mean, if you're the Vikings, Nick, I think the Vikings have the worst luck so far.
Oh, the amount of injuries?
The amount of injuries.
The death.
Kyrie Jackson dying. Jordan Addison getting arrested for DUI not long after that. And then either the day before J.J. McCarthy's injury, I think that, or was it day of, Jordan Addison also goes down on the field. He may be out for some time. So and then actually 2 cornerbacks, I think, got injured.
So I have a tweet of it right here. Minnesota Vikings recently, rookie cornerback who you said passed away. Starting cornerback tears ACL first practice. Other starting cornerback injured second practice. TJ Hawkinson out several months with an ACL. Jordan Addison gets carted off the field. Backup wide receiver goes down with injury. J.J. McCarthy tears meniscus out for season.
There's no other way to put it that this has been one of the worst off seasons. And it's not even anything of the Vikings' fault. Like this is literally every domino falling, and it's awful to watch. As somebody who supports this team, it's awful to watch.
Well, that was going to be my question to you as a second team Vikings fan. Like this has got to be driving you nuts.
My seasons are basically already over. The Giants are going to be trash. The Vikings are going to be trash.
Join the trash. It's fine over here.
For you, the only thing I'm going to respond with, if I can find it.
RELA.
We'll get to him later.
I know. But look, I hope JJ recovers. I hope he recovers and has a strong 2025 because we're going to be starting Sam Darnold and his goats.
I mean, I know from past experience how that's going to go. So you don't need to. Don't worry about that because it's going to end horribly.
Justin Jefferson's going to walk out on the team and request a trade, isn't he?
Maybe. I don't know exactly, but I just don't. The Vikings season is already
Yeah.
so. It's going to be a bad season for the Vikings. And I thought before all the injuries that they actually were a really good team. Like,
Yes. I knew they were going to take a little bit of a step back going from Kirk Cousins to J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold, but I said, look, they still have Justin Jefferson. They would still have Jordan Addison minus whatever games he was going to be suspended. They had acquired Aaron Jones. I said, you know what? There is still something to this team. And now this team is basically Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson.
yeah. And unfortunately, I think Justin Jefferson might not be long for this team if the team keeps going this way.
I know. Let's talk about some transactions that have happened because we have seen very recently, right before we recorded this, the Patriots make a big trade, trading their Pro Bowl pass rusher Matt Judon to the Falcons for a third-round pick. I mean, look, not really surprised. The Patriots, this is a blow-up season.
Yeah. It's a complete blow-up season. That's what I was expecting.
The point of emphasis on this year's Patriots season is the development of Drake May. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, second overall in the draft, which means they have a lot of third overall. So, I mean, 2 or 3, it doesn't really matter. There's a huge amount of value in stock put into Drake May, so they better make it work if they expect to get anywhere in the future. I mean, trading Judon signaled the flag already. Like, was he the one who got into a fight with Mayo, the coach?
Yeah, it was him. They had I guess the word would be confrontation. I don't know if I could say full out fight, but they had a confrontation to do with them.
But you're trading away a guy who had a ton of value in this organization,
and
all over controversy with your new head coach. Which, I think Bill Belichick might be laughing all the way home now that he's not the head coach of this team anymore.
Yeah. By the way, as we were recording this, another trade happened, one involving my New York team, that the New York Giants are sending defensive tackle Jordan Phillips and a 7th-round pick. They are getting a 6th-round pick in exchange in 2026. So it's not really a big deal in terms of, any, move, shake value or anything, but it's a matter of who they made the trade with. That's getting everybody up in arms and everybody just shocked. You know why?
Why?
How about them Cowboys? We had a Giants-Cowboys trade.
What?
We had a Giants-Cowboys trade.
What the
When does that happen?
That's like the Yankees and Red Sox making a trade.
And
that's actually happened.
Cowboys. That's insane.
Yeah, that's, even though it's a shit throwaway trade, like, I get it. I understand. But, wow.
Hey, sure, Giants. We'll take them.
Ham out them Cowboys. We'll take one of your Giants.
We're going to win the Super Bowl. Oh, which, by the way... By the way, did you see the comment he made towards CeeDee Lamb? Hey, you're missed, but you're not actually missed. How about them Cowboys?
I mean, he doesn't care. He doesn't care that CeeDee Lamb is just going to sit out like the whole season and just be like, I'm going to wait over here until you pay me.
That means I get to pay all my money in the world for my Dak Prescott.
It's football season when Jerry Jones is making appearances on this show.
Well, he's made appearances in the off-season time, too.
Yeah, it's true. You're right.
But you know what? No. You know what? Let's get off of that Jerry Jones sound effect. Let's move on to another different sound effect. One I've already played.
R-E-L-A-X.
And one I'll play again.
R-E-L-A-X.
And again.
R-E-L-A-X.
One more.
R-E-L-A-X.
Yeah. I know my Jets' misery has finally appeared when he's in the news all
I don't
over
even know
again.
if we can say Jets misery because I think the Jets actually have a pretty decent team, but it's a player that you just absolutely cannot stand.
I can't stand. So the news comes out. Aaron Rodgers regrets saying he was immunized in
I've been
2021.
immunized.
Oh wait. Did someone say the file from 2021?
Are you vaccinated, and what's your stance on vaccinations?
Yeah, I've been immunized.
you you saved that. Oh my god.
No, I didn't say that. I found it. I came prepared to the party. So
You certainly did.
that dopey moment in the media. Are you vaccinated? No, I'm immunized back 3 years ago in 2021. I'll play it again if you didn't hear it.
Are you vaccinated, and what's your stance on vaccinations?
Yeah, I've been immunized.
I mean,
It didn't even say it sounded like he said immunized, immunized.
yeah, I know. It sounded like he totally botched the word, but we get the point. So
Yeah.
obviously, there's more context to this because Ian O'Connor, who works for ESPN, is writing a unauthorized, technically, biography on Aaron Rodgers. And all this stuff comes out. And finally, Aaron allows him to come down to Malibu. They sit down, they have a 2-hour interview, and they discuss stuff. And it was a whole thing. And now Aaron says, oh, well, I regret it. He said, I should have just said I was allergic to ingredients. Hello? That's totally different than saying you're immunized. What?
Mhm. And granted, it may have still been a lie, but you know what? It probably would have been a lie that would have helped him maybe instead of getting into the whole crap about, oh, I'm immunized, and then it came out he was never actually vaccinated.
My mind is head spinning in a mode where I'm just like, now, 3 years later, you expect me to come out and believe you that that's not what you meant to say? Are you trying to take me like I've been hiding under a rock like Patrick Starr?
I mean, look, he's your quarterback now. You're going to have to deal with him.
I might act dumb, but I'm not stupid. Okay? Like, this whole thing is ridiculous. Just get out. Like, get out. I don't want you as my quarterback. I don't want you. I'm willing to suffer with a 0-17 season than have you as a quarterback.
Oh my God, Nick.
I'm serious.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Morgasen, the world's worst Jets fan. Let's give him a rounding ovation.
There are a lot of Jets fans and a lot of fans.
I wanted to give you the ovation.
Yeah. And you're going to hear me saying a lot about this in the upcoming weeks with the NFL season coming back. But no, I'm dead serious. I would take an 0-17 season over this man destroying our reputation in the NFL. I can't take it. This guy stinks. I can't deal with it. And he probably won't play more than 4 snaps anyway.
Well, this San Francisco, who they play on the first Monday Night Football, now has that defenseman who did injure him last year.
Well, the other interesting part is, and they talk about it in that book, that he was upset. If you remember, he wanted to be drafted by the 49ers, and they drafted Alex Smith.
Right. And Aaron Rodgers basically sat there until pick 20-something.
But he was mad. He's from San Francisco, I think, or somewhere in California. I can't remember exactly. But he wanted to be on the 49ers. They dissed him, essentially. So now, everyone's saying, oh, that it's going to be a big moment. They're going to go down at Monday Night Football. Now, with all the turmoil going down in San Francisco, this might be a closer game than I once realized because of the whole Brandon Ayuk situation. And is Debo going to be there? I mean, they signed Christian McCaffrey, but he had his injuries. They're not going to win. They're not going to win. Just can we stop all this hype of Aaron Rodgers is going to go into San Francisco and destroy the 49ers? It's never going to happen. Please.
That's basically you at this point.
Yeah, I can't But to put a bow, I guess, on this whole immunization thing, it's silly. Like, but what I will give him is I did read in the stories that he actually was allergic to some of the ingredients, supposedly.
Then come out and say that.
I'm not defending him. I'm the last person that will defend this man. But I did read that like there was actually some of the listed ingredients that he was allergic to. But just say it. You should have just said, I'm allergic.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be in this head case of a situation being the villain of the sport. Because he is the villain of the sport. Quite literally.
I don't know if I would go that far.
Tell me who's worse. Okay, Deshaun Watson might be worse. But I
didn't even need to say a word.
Because I just realized that in my own head. But he's up there on the top 5 of villain people in the NFL.
He will be for your franchise if your franchise doesn't get off to a good start.
And it's funny because I did a video for our football forecast, which is our new show starting in first week of September, our pick show. And I just went off on Aaron Rodgers, like how I just want them to fire the management and get rid of him. And I'm tired of him. And also the news we're really not going to have time to get to, but Hassan Reddick requesting a trade after not even getting on the field to even play anything with them whatsoever. I mean, I'm not expecting a good season. Let's just put it that way.
Well, we got one more thing that we do need to go over, and it's kind of a funny story. So, Giselle and Tom Brady obviously having their divorce. Giselle is going to try to get property from him. Turns out Tom Brady doesn't own any property because he put all the property in his mom's name. And on top of that, when he bought these properties, they weren't under his mom's name. He actually changed it over the course of time. Just to ensure Giselle didn't get it. I cannot believe. First of all, I am not surprised. Why am I not surprised that Tom Brady did something like this? This is a Tom Brady move.
Yes, this is definitely a Tom Brady move. I mean, I was shocked. Like, I'm reading through the story again, just trying to understand this whole scenario. And so it says, Brady mentioned that his wife, Gisele Bündchen, felt he wasn't contributing enough to family. Okay, we get that. After Gisele divorced Tom Brady, she sought half of his substantial net worth of $300 million, which, by the way, that sounds kind of low, if you ask me, for Tom Brady net worth. However, the court informed her that, quote, Tom Brady owns nothing. Direct quote. Which initially puzzled her. Upon further investigation, Gisele discovered that Tom had transferred all of his assets into his mother's name. And I was like, wait, what? And so legally, this meant that Tom himself owned no property or wealth. So money, either. Consequently, Gisele had no legal claim to any of these assets since they were registered under his mother's name. It makes it impossible for her to claim anything from Tom's estate. What?
Hold on. Where is
Shots fired! Shots fired!
I mean, yeah, quite literally.
Emotional damage!
That's
I
the
can
one
go
was
all
expecting.
day.
That's the one I was expecting. So now the divorce settlement process will likely involve a thorough assessment of all assets, including any that might be indirectly controlled by Brady. Both parties may need to negotiate to reach a fair settlement, and if they can't agree, the case could again go to court. Yeah.
All I can say is I wonder if Tom Brady will make any sort of references to these when he starts with Fox next month.
All the Giselle jokes have been unfortunate. I mean,
and again, I wonder if Tom will make some sort of comment that's gonna, kind of reference Giselle in, an indirect manner, and then you're gonna see NFL Twitter going, "Oh," like a bunch of teenage boys.
Oh, where they go flying across the screen, whatever that meme is called. Yeah. Woo! Woo! Yeah. I mean, but this is just a fantastic story right before the football season starts. And
Nick, by the way, Nick, no, it's not It's that. Oh, it's.
Well, yes. Okay. But I love it. Football season is officially back, I guess we could say.
Yes.
With injuries and Tom Brady apparently not owning any of his estates due to it being in his mother's name.
You got to contact my mother.
Contact her. She owns it all. Not me. I didn't do it. Her. Over there. She has the money. Not me. It's not my money. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Well, you all have done your sentence. Now you can go. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe on the way out. Hit the notification bell. Make sure to subscribe here, youtube.com/ETV Network. Help us continue our climb to 1,000 subscribers. Make sure to follow us across social media at ETV Sports and at ETV Network, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. If you don't want to watch us, listen to the Empty the Bench wherever you get your podcasts, Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, so much more. And shout out to our friends over at Playback. Continuing to do stuff with them. Zan, Pat, and I actually had fight study earlier today on the day that this is premiering. So, we'll continue to do that stuff. And with the NFL season right around the corner, there might be some more stuff on the way.
Yeah, WNBA as well. That's also in the, as they say, coal in the fire. Also, one more thing as well. You and I will be at the Fanatics Fest in the city.
Yeah.
So if you see us or whatever, we'll be there. A lot of our team is actually going to be there.
Spread out over the 3 different days. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going Friday, possibly Saturday.
I'm going to be there Sunday.
You're actually going for the actual Jake Paul and Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson press conference. Yeah.
So you'll be there for that. Nico, our head of social, I think he's going Saturday. Dan, who does all our graphics and our WWE stream, I'm going with him on Friday. I think he's also going Saturday. So we're all going to be there in some way, shape, or form. Tony, who also does the WWE stream, is actually going to have a table at the fest. So a lot of us are going to be there. But if you see us, let us know. We'll shout out on social media if you see us. But that'll do it for episode 245 of Empty the Bench. He's Tom Albano. I'm Nick Morgasen. We'll be back for episode 246. Same time, same place. Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.